Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22. And we've got some exciting news for you this morning. It is early. It is 6 a.m. I've been up since 4:15. And it's just a beautiful morning here in Olean, New York. And I wanted to kind of jump in with something really, really cool. Um, so we are expanding outwards. So, I was actually talking with a couple media outlets last night. It's an exciting time of year. We'll get into this in the next podcast, which will actually be done here shortly and released. But when I think of my small local town, I think of certain newspapers, and now you think of certain online newspapers because the regular draft paper newspaper doesn't really exist anymore. And then I started thinking, man, what happened to like actual like television news and like television stations. When I was a kid in Connecticut, there was like a like a PBS, a public broadcast system. Um, and I'm sure like the local like cable company still offers it. I'm sure some FCC rule still requires them to have it, but nobody uses it. It's probably like a room with dusty old chairs and some drop cloths over it and like an old camera and like a Canon like 4 megapixel like photo camera. So anyways, I was thinking, man, like, and then I was asking some of the other people, and they were like, I was like, what do you think of like when you think of online or even just video television shows that are in like, and maybe then start removing the word television. And they're like, in your little town? And he's like, Life 22. And that's us. It's us, baby. And I started thinking about it, like, man, like we are like the closest thing to Olean has to a television show and or a television channel. And I know there's probably a couple other podcasts out there, but they don't specify in like what we do. Local news, some of Kevin's BS, health, wealth, and fitness. And so that's kind of where we're kind of growing as a channel is going down those paths. And today, if you're watching on video, you won't get this, but if you're listening on audio, and this is the first time I'm really saying that because if you're listening on audio, you're experiencing the new form of our channel, which is like a downgrade, right? Like it's not a downgrade. So when I started as a podcaster, we started doing just video audio podcast, right? And a video podcast is like, it's what you think of when I think of podcast, I think of like Joe Rogan, I think of all the greats and in the podcasting industry. And then what I, come to find out, like, well, 95% of podcasts out there are all audio only. And so then I started thinking about like, well, a lot of the podcasts I even just listen to on a daily basis, like I only listen to the audio, like they're like on a like on a minimized screen on my phone that I listen to. And so even though they are video podcasts, unless there's something that they've got going on in it that I have to just like I gotta watch this video clip they're talking about or whatever. For the most part, they're just like an audio stream, just like anything else. And I'm like, man, we could expand our viewership by switching to an audio, not switching, but expanding to also incorporating an audio podcast, which we did years ago. It was part of something we were going on to, so we could expand our video podcast to a bunch of different mediums, like Apple Podcasts, like Spotify. Um, but it was right at the beginning, so Spotify really didn't offer it, so I had to have audio only on Spotify, and then that RSS feed kind of fell through. And now we've linked up with a new distribution hub. Instead of just using YouTube, we are now on Transistor. So transistor.fm will be sending us to Apple Podcast, Spotify, so you can catch us anywhere that you like to download your podcasts for your local news and or just coming events and things like that, and just things that you just come to this channel for. Um, some people come just for my lovely, beautiful voice, and you don't need to see me in order to hear that beautiful voice and have me in your pocket every single day. You just be like, man, I miss that voice. Man, I miss that voice. I'm just, man, I'm super excited. I am super excited, and this will be our first podcast going through to Transistor, and then we'll be slowly upgrading and or uploading and tearing audio files out of our video files so that we can start uploading from the you know the Life 22 vault, right, like the Disney vault, We're gonna be pulling them out so that you can listen to them at your leisure. So very exciting stuff here, guys. And I'd like to start doing like just a morning Joe, not Joe Scarborough, God forbid. Um, but a morning like a morning podcast. And and we did do the morning show years ago. And it just kind of it was one of those things that fell by the wayside. But you know, I think we could still bring it back, and it'd probably be a slow process till it picks up. We'll do a, you know, 2 days a week, maybe Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and which is perfect because that's what that morning stretch. And then that's what today is. Today's a Thursday. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. It's like it's 2 days away from a Drake song, because on a Thursday, and that's where we are, guys. We are here, Life22, bringing you all the greatest hits from yo DJ Kev. And there's a little bit of a deeper tone to that voice that you love to listen to so much. And and that's one of the nice parts about having both, right? Audio and video, because when you got a beautiful punum like mine, you don't just have that face for radio, you have that face for video podcast. So with that said, guys, we will catch you guys next time